them. In the midst of these circumstances, you know how that will sound to a lot of us Ghanaians. Are we mistaken when we expect that leadership should be problem solving? That if they are unable to solve the problem, they should be let go of?
Well, by every indication, it looks like the president is living in a different world from the rest of us. See, you don't need an expert to tell you that when you have people and they're not performing, you have to do something about them. What I learned in business school is that if you have an employee, for 5 years, they've not come up with anything new, fire them. Because you are wasting your time. We have crises at hand. Everything seems to be going the wrong direction. And these same people are supposed to be those that should fix them, but we don't see them fixing the problems. We live in an advanced country where everything is robust already, but we can see our politicians, our president working every single day, coming up with different policies to deal with the challenges they have in here. So if you feel the same people who are not, making any progress, any headway we are not making, and then you keep them there, you yourself, it's more inefficient than them. And we can see that playing all over the place. So I think because he's in the last term of his administration, he just doesn't care. And it's unfortunate. Future generations will remember him as one of the people who caused a lot of problems for them. Because presidents are elected to fix problems. So if you think the people you're working with are pretty fine, they are angels, he will bear the consequences because he is the head of state. And we all look up to him. So it's a very confused, statement. Is very, I don't know how to describe it better, but it's a sign of inefficiency. And then the president who is leading our country to complete failure.
But his argument is that if you look at the economy, before all this crisis started, which we've spoken to it a couple of times, they've blamed on Ukraine and Russia. His finance minister was running quite an efficient economy. He's a Greek minister in the midst of all this. The Greek sector continues to produce food in the quantities that people need. That you cannot fire these people when they are doing this job and you can see the results that they are showing. Doesn't he have a point?
Instead of explaining the problem, fix it. The president has been explaining every day Ukraine, every day this and this and this and that. If we needed someone to be explaining problems, we would have gone to Legon or KNUST, bring the lecturers, and then they will try to explain everything for Ghanaians. We elected a president. And what it means is that every day he has to see that everything is working. Look, in America, for example, when Richard Nixon was confronted with inflation, he had to control prices. It's a completely capitalistic economy. But certain times you have to do some unconventional things. When Achampo was confronted with these kinds of things, inflation, whatever, shortages, he banned private cars, weekends. You couldn't drive private vehicles certain weekends. And that helped to conserve energy, helped to stabilize, it helped the economy in a way because we spend a lot on energy. So some of these unconventional things should be seen as being taken care of. But the president is sitting there, and everybody seems to be sleeping. Because if they are doing anything, it means they are doing that in hiding because nobody knows what they're doing. And the economy keeps getting bad. Look at the CD. You see, the CD is sleeping to a point that it will come to a time nobody is going to be interested in it. So in the midst of all these things, President still thinks that no, I don't know what kind of advice is being given him and what exactly is he doing. Because you can't use conventional approach to fix these kinds of problems. Anybody who come to take over from the president will have to do a lot of unconventional things. 21st century, we still importing medicine, just basic as that. We can do traditional medicine. America, we have not traditional medicine in shops, whatever. So we can begin to look at the big picture and see what is causing this, because our addiction to foreign uh, items will always be on the table when it comes to dealing with problems like this. But they are not doing anything. I don't know which of the ministers deserve to still be in office. The finance minister has branded our country as inefficient, poor management skills. And I think now, I don't know how he will behave when he goes to conferences with peer finance ministers, because he has messed up everything. Everything in Ghana is not attractive to investors again. So in the midst of this, if the president still hold on to the idea that he still needs to maintain the status quo, then it means that he has become the problem.
It means he has become the problem. Why?
Because he is responsible for, making changes. When you change people, it doesn't mean anything, but it's a way of sending signals that this is something new is going to be done. You can't keep or government officials in place when things are going the other way and everybody is complaining. Ministers work towards the vision of the president. And currently, Ghanaians, we don't even know his vision. He started every project the president started, never, made any progress. The one district, one dam, do we know where it is now? What are they doing? So every Ghanaian is so concerned that you elect government thinking that they're going to help put food on your table, and now they are taking food from your table because nothing seems to be working. Inflation is not fought. How are they fighting it when land cruisers are all over the place? We still need to spend a lot importing spare parts to maintain them, just for president to drive around. And, the rest of the population are suffering. Educational institutions cannot even afford to keep themselves open. So the crisis has reached a point. You see that they're now hooting at the president wherever he goes. And it's not even sending any signal. He needs to own up and begin to be a patriotic president.
You said at this point in time, what he needs to do is to be doing unconventional stuff and not the usual stuff, which means you're looking up to him to be thinking even without a box altogether.
Of course. You see, I've been a lecturer for some time. All we teach in Africa is theories of the West. No African professor have their own theory. They are not applicable to most of the things that, with situations that we have in Africa. Inflation, they will tell you go open market. You see, that means that you should sell securities to people to control inflation, or you buy from them. This is very simple. But if you apply it in Ghana, how many people patronize the stock market? So it's not going to work. And in the West, what they tell you in the textbook, when you have capitalistic economy, you need to focus on letting the market dictate certain things. But they themselves have done the unconventional things. Price control. Price gouging is a crime in the US at some point, certain states. When the federal government realizes that certain people were charging higher, taking advantage of crisis, they usually come up with gouging laws. So when you increase price to some level, you are actually violating federal law. Do we have that in Ghana? No. Everybody's left to do whatever they're doing because the IMF or whoever has given us a template. IMF, they have one template. Anytime you go, they give you that same template. Whether your problem is malaria or is diabetes, they tell you, do go and cut down this, introduce austerity measures, and that can mob excess liquidity. When you have no excess liquidity at all to mob, so it tends to destroy your economy rather. So the unconventional things are too many because our economy is very unsophisticated. Like the health sector, why are we still running hospitals? Why are universities still on subvention and charging high fees? You see, government can take them out of subvention. President Mahama tried it. And if he had followed that through, the universities will be autonomous, they'll be challenged. Our universities are not globally accredited. So foreigners don't come. And education tourism is one of the ways modern governments are attracting investors. And then also foreign exchange. Because when the students come, they bring in money, and that also becomes part of the pool of resources to help your local currency. But most of these things we ignore. And all we do is that we keep borrowing. Anytime you see the finance minister sending anything or coming up with any policy, is to allow him to borrow. We have borrowed our country to, a halt. We have borrowed it to a failure. It's becoming a failed state. And then if we keep on, at some point in time, it's not going to look at everybody downgrading us. You see, how do we recover from this? For me, I pity whoever is going to take over. I know it might be NDC, and it's not going to be easy because everything is on it. We have sold everything. Our mines are gone. For example, the mines, they repatriate a lot of their earnings, and it's in dollars. So why can't we pass a law that allows them, that mandates them to buy some investments with their earnings, so that some of them will be retained in our country, and it's going to help us because we don't have access at this point to liquidate. That can help our economy, that can hold our CD, that can, help other macroeconomic issues. So the unconventional things, if they don't do that the West is doing, they're going to keep messing up our economy. So they need to come back to basics.
Wow. Well, Doc, thank you for speaking to us. But before I let you go, I understand that maybe the next time I speak to you, I won't be address you as a management and organization expert if your ambitions actually actualize, because my understanding is that you want to be the chairman of the NDC chapter in the US. Accurate?
Sure. I'm in it already. I look at leadership vacuum that is.
Okay, when you say you are in it, what do you mean? Have they opened nominations?
Well, I have already announced my intention, so we have started.
You started campaigning?
In some way, at a very limited, level.
Why does Doc want to be chairman NDC chapter USA?
I'm looking at the opportunities that exist here to lead. Well, leaders that are currently in place, they are doing what they can do. Mm-hmm. But I think we need to accelerate the pace at which we are carrying out transformation within the party.
Okay.
If you look at the NDC here, and even in Ghana, we have more chairmen vice chairmen than we have organizers. Democratic Party, they don't have national organizer, but they have over 500 organizers. So why do we have vice chairman more vice chairman than organizers? So some of these things I look at and I see we can change. We can increase fundraising models. We can come out with new fundraising models to raise more funds. ROPA is coming. We need to account for every member of the NDC. We need to increase our numbers. I meet people and they tell me they don't know how to join the NDC. because the visibility is poor. We need to make it visible. Fortunately, my master's is in marketing, and I have that skill to come in and transform it, reinvent it, and make sure that we also are on the ground. We are linked to all communities, because the communities will provide us the pool of members who can help us if RUPA is ever implemented. So I have about 35-point agenda that I have been, rolling out. And they encapsulate a lot of things that can help in the transformation process. Because if you want to win, as a political party, you must mass mobilize. And our parties should be growing. They should learn from the Western parties that have been there for a long time. You look at Democratic Party, it's run by committee, and they have a pretty good structure. So some of this we can bring to the fore. Technology, we don't need to spend a lot of millions on that. If you take simple Excel, if you program it well, it can collect results, it can give us all kinds of information. We don't have research. Through my basic research, I realized that anytime voter turnout is up to 70%, NDC wins. Why is it that? We must put a team of researchers together to investigate some of these things to help the national party. So I am coming in with a Marshall Plan.
Okay.
Not to reconstruct and undo everything previous leaders did, but to begin to build on them and give us a direction that can really be towards victory.
Okay.
Because if we don't do that, we know what we are faced with. We are on a slippery slope.
Okay. Doc.
The country is getting better, and the rescue mission at right now. And I felt if I sit and complain, I will not be fair to the system. So it's better to join it and try to render my service, fix it, and then so that we create efficiency culture. Any leader we get in the future, they will be coming to assimilate into that culture.
Okay. Doc, thank you. Perhaps we'll find some time and talk about that 7-point agenda that you have. Doc, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for staying up to speak to us.
Thank you, my brother. It's a pleasure.
Dr. Justice Salifu stayed up to have a conversation with us on exactly what we are saying, because the main point of that interview that I took away was the matter of the way the president felt about the people around him, the leadership and the solutions that the people he put in place were delivering. And I feel that is what should worry everybody, that we have a president that feels that what they are doing currently is the best that they can do, when actually there are other things that